My name is Ken Evans. I'm the managing director. I lead the accelerator program here at the Tampa Bay Innovation Center. I'd like to welcome you all to the program. This is our 10th cohort, which means we've done 10 accelerators up to this point, and that's covered about 70 companies that have gone through the program. The program focuses on mainly B2B solutions for enterprise and sometimes government customers. That being said, we run the program for pretty much any startup, any tech startup that wants to come in and get help with their idea, move from ideation to product, and understand what the process looks like to go from idea to product to business. And so over the last 5.5 years, we've had a number of companies, a lot of companies go through the program, a lot of companies, probably over 500, apply for the program, but we run about 7 to 8 companies per cohort that comes through. And I'll talk a little bit more about future programs, but we do run 2 of these a year. So if you are building a tech startup and are interested in participating in the program, talk to me, talk to one of the other people after the program ends today, and we'll tell you a little bit about what we've got coming up for the rest of this year. Our mission here at TBIC is to foster innovation. That means helping people with their ideas, helping them understand what it means to build a product and bring that product to market. A lot of programs focus on raising money. A lot of programs focus on the business basics of incorporating your company and doing all those different things. We take a little bit different approach here because if you don't have a product, if you don't have something that connects with a customer, something that they want to buy, you really don't have a foundation for a business. So we take a very fundamental approach on make sure you're building a product that people actually want to pay for, that people actually want to use. Over the past 3 months, the startups you see today have been participating in the program. They've been here every single Wednesday, pretty much all day, sitting in a workshop, either in this room or one of the classrooms in the back, learning about the process, learning about what it means to go out and talk to early stage customers, what it means to actually validate the idea that you're building, and then what you can do to take that product and go to market. So many thanks to the 8 companies that are participating in this, enduring every single Wednesday for 12 weeks with me, but also for the kind of the blood, sweat, and tears that they've put into the program both before they got here in building that idea, but also since they've been here, they've put in a lot of hard work to figure out what is the right product to build, who is my customer, how do I get this to market, and so they've endured a lot of different homework assignments, they've endured a lot of anxiety over discussing what they're building and how they're going to take that to market. So the agenda today, we'll have some welcome remarks, and then we'll get right into the startup presentations. After that, we'll have 3 representatives from ARK Invest, one of our title sponsors, come in, and we're going to tear down the stage, set them up to do a fireside chat. So if you've been here before, you've seen the fireside chats that we do. ARK Invest is a research company, an investment company, and they look at the technology as it's evolving. They look at the trends of what's happening in the marketplace, and they provide a lot of that research, all their research, for free. So they have been gracious enough to come here and share some of that with us this afternoon. So after the presentations, stick around for that event as well. And then we'll wrap up, I think, probably a little bit after 12. If anybody wants a tour of the facility after that, happy to take you upstairs and walk you around. If not, there's maps out here. How many people are here for the very, very first time? Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'd like to show you more of the center a little bit later. I'd like to start by thanking our corporate sponsors for the program, being ARK Invest and Duke Energy. They have been sponsors of this program almost from the very, very beginning, understanding that getting innovation out of people's heads and into the marketplace, turning those ideas into products, is what's going to help us become a more sustainable tech hub. So none of these programs would be possible without their support and without their ability to see the vision for what St. Pete and Tampa Bay can be as far as a tech hub going forward. I'd also like to thank some of our program sponsors: Pinellas County Economic Development, St. Petersburg Economic Development, CSC, Fulcrum, GymAid, Dabble Labs, and Tampa Bay Ventures have all been supporters and in some cases speakers at the program to help us build out what we're doing here. Not just with this building, but all the programs that we have, all the coaching, all the mentoring, all the services that we provide to early stage startups, because it is a tough journey. So with that, Cynthia, would you like to come up and make any remarks? I'd like to introduce Dr. Cynthia Johnson, who is the head of Pinellas County Economic Development, to talk a little bit about the overall programs that we have overall in Pinellas County and what we do to support young businesses.
Thank you. Good morning. I see some familiar faces. I have this mic, but I have my principal voice. In my other life, I was a school administrator, so I can do a bus call. You can hear me outside. But good morning. What a beautiful sight. We are so excited to have the innovative thinkers and movers and shakers right here in Pinellas County. Part of what we do to support the ARC Innovation Center is to promote the ARC Innovation Center. We can't have innovation and be the hub of technology and new innovation in not only the Tampa Bay region, but internationally. We are a global reckon to happen right here, right in this space. And it is this, you guys gonna have a hard job this morning, but it is in this space where ideas come to life. And what we want to do at the county is to support those ideas. I always say from birth to the grave, we want to be a part of that journey. So as Ken has said earlier, all the departments you see up there, that's what they are. They are truly a part, an extension of your innovation, an extension of your companies. We can help you from financing. We don't get money. We are the government. However, we know people who do fund innovation, so we try to connect you to those who fund innovation. But we do provide technical assistance and support. We provide access to federal contracts, access to state and local contracts, access to other innovators that you can partner with. So what we want to do is to help you understand that you have a full service team that is here, ready, willing, and able to help you move your innovation to the next level. So I'm so excited for these next 8 presenters, but more importantly, we have space that you too can be in this beautiful space and help create your innovation to take our country, take our community, take our citizens to the next level. So thank you all so much for coming this morning, and congratulations to the 8.
Cynthia. I'd also like to welcome up to the stage Chairman Emeritus of the Tampa Bay Innovation Center Board, Chris Paradise. Chris has been here for the duration of not just this building, but for many, many years of the program. The Innovation Center is not just this building. This is our 4th home over 22, 23 years. And Chris has been here for the majority of that. So I'd like to bring him up to tell a little bit of story about the journeys, about the programs, and about what this building means to the program.
Thanks, Ken. So there are a lot of new faces here. There are a lot of hands raised. That's a wonderful thing. This building is all about entrepreneurs, innovators, and creators, the people that actually make companies work. And what we're trying to do is build leaders with character that understand science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math, bring them together in a single space, the ARC Entrepreneurship Center, and let them develop the future, the solutions that are going to make our lives better or even possible with the issues we have in energy generation and storage and AI and all the things that are coming our way and the changes that seem to move faster and faster. Most of us are not doing anything about that. We are on the consuming side. But these entrepreneurs you're going to meet today are on the creation side. They are creating the solutions for their customers that are going to change lives, that are going to make our lives better. And so the little bit that I've done to help this center actually exists, I am pleased to see so many other people like Ken, Joy, our judges here, all these people that are supporting this community, because that's what it is. It's a community of people that want to see change and want to build something. And to see that and all of you coming here, that is a wonderful thing. So It's not easy running a building like this. It's not easy running a program like this. It's not easy bringing the people that are necessary to allow those entrepreneurs to thrive and to fund the entrepreneurs. And you probably all can imagine that that's not an easy thing. But with your support, use this facility, book your events here, right? Bring this into the center of our community so that these entrepreneurs that reside here can be lifted up and encouraged to go out there and change the world. I thank you all for being here, and without further ado, unless we have more boring speakers like me, we will get on with our show.
Thank you, Chris. All right, let me back up a little bit. With that, I would like to also thank the guest speakers that participate in the program. It's not just me up there 6-8 hours every single Wednesday talking to people about the journey and what they're doing. We tap into the tech community. We tap into the people that are here that are the experts at building products and building companies so that they can come in and share their expertise. So a lot of the people that are here on this slide have participated in coming in and sharing what they've done, what their journey has been in building and supporting companies. So I'd like to thank them for the contributions that they make to the program, because I couldn't possibly do it all myself. I cannot take credit for that. So next up are our 8 startups. The 8 startups that participated in this program have very, very different approaches, very, very different products of what they've built, but they all have the same goal of making something that's going to change lives and businesses. So you'll hear very, very different stories about why they're doing what they're doing, what they built, and who they built it for. But know that every one of them has a passion for changing people's lives for the better and creating innovation that will actually make it to market and make a difference for people. Before I get started, I'd like to thank our panelists. Actually, I want to have them introduce themselves while I go into the back and change the mic batteries. So we have Zach Brodsky, who's an associate at Florida Funders on this side over here, Joy Randels from the Prowess group in the middle, and Andreas Calabrese from from Tampa Bay Ventures. I'm going to hand the mic to Zach, and then I'm going to run in the back.
Perfect. Yeah, great to be here. My name is Zach. I'm a senior associate at Florida Funders. We are an early stage venture capital firm over in Tampa, Florida, so right across the bridge. We are now raising our 3rd fund, so actively investing out of that fund, raising $75 million to 100. So exciting time to be here and in Tampa and the rest of Florida and St. Pete as well. So looking forward to it.
Hi, I'm Joy Randels. I had an accident with an ink pen this morning. Ken said I should just say, see the other guy, right? You should see the other guy. I have the Prowess Group, and I also have New Market Partners. So New Market Partners is my fund. We have about 31 active investments right now. And I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've built and exited 10 technology companies throughout my career. And now I help other founders do the same thing. I'm going to hand it over to Andreas.
Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for coming to the beautiful center. I think we were one of the first tenants here, so we want to fill it and have a lot of really smart people around us. I'm Andreas Calabrese, one of the co-founding general partners of Tampa Bay Ventures. What makes us maybe a little unique is we're a venture capital fund that only invests in companies that are based or have significant nexus in Tampa Bay, because we're really big believers in that this region is at the precipice of an explosion in the innovation economy in Florida. Thank you.
Thank you again for participating and helping us out today. So with that, I'd like to start off the program, bring up the companies that have participated. The approach is going to be a little bit different. If you've ever been to a pitch contest or a demo day, you know that they can go on forever. I limit people to 2 slides and 90 seconds because it really should be a conversation starter. It should not be a Wikipedia about every single company. So understand the presentations are going to be short. Hopefully they generate good questions. After they're done with their 90 seconds, the panel is going to ask them questions for 5 or 6 minutes. No questions from the audience yet. You can have a chance to network and do that afterwards. But I really want them to get out the essence of what they're building and who they're building it for. And then from that, the questions can go. So with that, I'd like to bring up our first company, Accelerator Recruitment Services, and Carlos Busi. Carlos?
Hi, everyone. In 20 years of clinical research experience, I've learned delays in trials don't come from lack of innovation. They come from relying on the most overworked, lowest paid team member, the clinical research coordinator. Coordinators, often also nurses or medical assistants, are expected to room 40 to 50 patients a day while handling recruitment, study visits, and data entry across up to 10 systems per study. It's not only inefficient, it's unsustainable. Biotech companies often award their studies to the busiest clinics based on patient pool size, wrongly assuming having a diagnosis equals interest in participating in the trial. Most insured patients are unwilling to commit to frequent study visits for experimental treatments or worse, getting placebo. These inefficiencies cost over $1 million per day in lost time to market, and that's just in the small to mid-sized pharma space, with 7,500 ongoing trials. We built Accelerate Recruitment to fix this. We flipped the model. We run targeted social media campaigns to find actually interested participants. We automate pre-screening, retrieve records with consent, and filter out the unqualified before we reach the clinic. We test and validate each feature of our platform at our sister companies' clinics, where we run an average of 10 studies per year. Our platform, TrueView, automates outreach, scheduling, engagement, and transportation. We charge a flat fee with 75% going to media and offer optional services like secondary screening, records retrieval, and rides. Our endgame? One system from interest to completed subject, reducing coordinator burden and cutting time to market.
Thank you, Carlos. Questions from the panel?
So, congratulations on getting deployment to 163 different sites. Across all of the kind of sub features of your TrueView platform, like the CRM, project management, which of those features gets the highest utilization or is kind of closest to a critical feature for these centers?
It's definitely the CRM. So basically, a lot of these systems in clinical research don't do anything for you. It's just another step. We actually are trying to help ease the burden on the coordinators. So we send automated messaging, appointment confirmations, reminders, and then the rides you can schedule them at the time that you schedule the visit. So that's actually our top selling point.
Do most of these centers have CRMs already in place when you reach them, or not yet?
No. What we've done for clinical research and patient management, it's completely new.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So you mentioned the sister companies' clinics, right? So how much of what you have deployed today came from that sister company relationship?
All of it.
All of it. Great. That's kind of what I thought. So what is the plan to grow beyond that? So how do you see that working, right? Moving beyond those, or is that the plan?
So yes, so the plan is they're two separate businesses, right? So the clinics, because of Accelerate Recruitment, our business model used to be partnering with the busiest groups because they had the most patients, right? So we would get the patients from the practice. Now all of our patients are coming from advertising. So we are opening our own independent centers, and we are no longer associated with medical practices. So we don't share the revenue anymore.
Okay. Cool.
I'm curious a little bit on your sales process. You were saying that this is fairly new to some of these businesses. How do you get them excited about?
Yes. So we have actually we hired a salesperson, and really we're getting a lot of repeat business. So what happens is once a clinic works with us, they want to work with us on every study. So they start recommending us to the pharmaceutical companies because we don't only just send them more patients than every competitor, we're actually help them convert, right? And also the retention features as well, because they can do the automation through the whole process until the patients are actually finished in the study. So that's also helping our subscription model.
And then, dive into the subscription model a little bit more.
So so basically we charge 75%. Basically we spend 75% of what we bill. We spend that directly in the ad spend, right? So after we stop running the ads, we would technically no longer be billing. However, if they want to keep using our features, right? So you want to complete the patient through the whole study, then we charge a subscription model. We charge them $250 a month per site to use the feature so they can complete, and again, this is the beginning stage of that. We are hoping as we add more features to charge a lot more than that.
All right, Carlos, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, next I would like to bring up Matt Osbeck with Daitasoft.
Hello, everybody. Most small to mid-sized businesses lack the resources and the expertise to deploy what's currently out there for this legacy group of governance, risk, and compliance resources. Instead, they fall back to manual, traditional tools like Excel, email, SharePoint. Not only is it inefficient, but it can lead to control deficiencies, regulatory fines, or cybersecurity breaches. There's an unmet need in the space for a simple, budget-friendly platform for thousands of small to mid-sized businesses that are currently operating with no tool. Our firm has been in the industry and risk services for the past 20 years, and now we have productized our institutional knowledge. The product is designed to appeal to the non-sophisticated late adopters. The tool is AI-enabled, SaaS-based GRC tool. It's targeted for CAEs and CISOs that need to perform audits, manage controls, assess cyber risk with built-in frameworks for HIPAA, SOX, and NIST, and several others. So Data GRC is offered at $1,500 for a full user license, no charge for read-only contributor licenses, and we can generally get a client up and running for around $10,000 per year. We currently have 6 customers. Goal is to have 22 by year end. The product was actually completed end of Q2, so last week. We are currently launching at the Gartner Cybersecurity and Risk Conference in Washington, D.C. now, and we'll be at the IIA International Conference in Toronto in July. Thank you.
Questions?
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate the presentation. I'm curious a little bit on the competition. Obviously, there's quite a bit in this space in terms of some of these big players like Align or Vanta, Drata. Are you competitive with those companies, or do you work alongside?
Actually, the two I would say that dominate the market of what we're looking at would be Workiva and Audit Board. They do have some overlap with tools like Drata. One of the biggest challenges is they have become large and clunky. Some are okay, but our solution is designed for a market that they're not going after. They have been targeting the Fortune 1000, and there's a whole group of customer base that has been left behind.
So I saw on the slide, right? So you said mid-market. You're talking about mid-cap public companies?
Public and private. A lot of public companies will require like SOX, Sarbanes-Oxley, but many non-private companies also have cybersecurity risks.
I'm very familiar. I've worked in cybersecurity for a very long time and understand compliance. So tell me a little bit about how the public companies have a requirement. The private companies, depending on where they are, may or may not have a requirement. Help me understand 2 things. One, what's the go-to-market strategy for the product? And 2, you said that it's $1,500 for the base license, right? Then we have contributing clients, but 10K, is the 10K the service fee for facilitation?
No, so let me just answer the pricing question first. So the reason I got to the 10K, it's $1,500 for a user license. The contributors cost nothing. We get to the 10K is an estimated cost for a client because most teams will be in that 5 to 6 person license. So they would need 5 to 6. That gets us to that approximate 10,000. Go to market. We are deploying with a lot of our existing customers in our network with our services business. And now we're launching, we're looking at different marketing efforts to bring it to, I guess, full scale. So
Awesome. Let me say a little sideways so I project. Those may be a little weird, but what percentage of your customers do you think will have a CISO on staff?
It could be probably 60%, at least either has a CISO on staff or a fractional CISO. Our services business also offers fractional CISO.
What percentage of your future customers do you think have a managed service provider?
I don't know on that one. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I think, not necessarily a direct question, but I would say, I think those are probably two very key figures to figure out, because it's very different selling cycles, right? To a CISO versus to a managed service provider, versus packaging part of what a CISO is as a piece of software and allowing you to compete without having to hire, really smart, really expensive Cuba. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andreas.
Of your average line, that will answer a lot of those questions.
Revenue size anywhere from, right now we have our first client is Cracker Barrel, so many billions of dollars, does not have a tool. Anywhere down to $100 million.
Okay. Most of those clients will have at least one MSP or one outside data center that they're paying to help with compliance, just as an FYI. Almost all of them at that level. Some will have, when you talk about a Cracker Barrel or an organization that size, there may be 2 or 3.
I have another question for you. What do you think the primary learning from the service business is that you're taking it to and productizing? Like, what's the unfair advantage you guys have of starting with a service business as opposed to, some random kids trying to start a GRC company?
Right. So one, we offer the services. So through the deployment of the product, we have designed it so it's built for that customer base. We know how many controls they have. We know what they need to look at. And we can also bundle those services if they need them. But yeah, we're guiding them through the entire process, through implementation. And it's a simple launch.
As an assessor, so you're an assessor for the frameworks that you mentioned?
Not a full assessor, but we can help with compliance.
Okay, got it. Cool.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks, Matt, for sticking around for the bonus round. Next up, we have Nathan Stark with FolioBridge.
Thanks, Ken. I appreciate the opportunity and for being able to have the opportunity to speak to everybody here today about what we're doing to better support our educators. Because here's the thing, teachers, educators, we don't have a software problem. Research has shown that the average teacher already uses more than 42 different software applications throughout the school year. What we really have is a systems problem. Because see, school leaders are left with these retrofitted, disconnected tools to support their teachers. Tools like, tools like Teams, tools like SharePoint, tools like Excel spreadsheets. And this can all lead to things like potential accreditation losses. It can lead to missed curriculum. It can even lead to staff turnover. As a former school administrator and teacher, I felt the cost and the problem of these different types of problems where things are unorganized and where things are just discombobulated everywhere throughout the school. And so right now there are over 120,000 K-12 public, private, and charter schools across the United States, and they employ over 4 million teachers. Now, the EdTech market is valued at over $20 billion and is projected to have double-digit growth over the next 5 years. But here's the problem even with that. Most of these tools are built for students, and they're built for teachers. They're not built for administrators to support their teachers. And so FolioBridge is a SaaS-based workspace. And so what we're doing is we're building this workspace kind of like ClickUp, Trello, Asana, only instead of being built for businesses, we are built to meet the needs of educators. And so we've built in automated reminders to help deadlines get hit. And so we build in different dashboards to give greater operational visibility so the teachers know what resources are available to them and what's going on throughout the different parts of the school day. We also integrate with different EdTech tools. So we're not really replacing what teachers are using. We're providing a better space for those things to work together. And this just provides more operational visibility, better accountability systems, and it really helps to build transparency, which leads to greater teacher retention. Now, right now we are piloting at a local charter school of over 70 teachers. We operate on a seat-based subscription model where the average school would be about $3,500 to $4,000 annually. We plan to launch a version 1.0 in September, and we plan to grow to over 20 schools in the 2025-26 school year. So if you have any questions, comments, or smart remarks about any of this, please let me know before you go. Otherwise, have a great day and make good choices.
Thanks, Nate. Questions?
Yes, I'll kick it off. So obviously any tools that help educators are like very well welcomed. And I think a lot of us should be working more on these types of problems. But traditionally, the go-to-market function for EdTech has always been a challenge, right? That you have to deal with this federated mix of municipalities, local school boards. You have to get a lot of buy-in for a relatively small amount of customers every time you do get a new customer. So what's your plan strategically or operationally to attack that problem?
Yeah, so strategically, it's more to go after charter and private schools. So I was a former assistant principal at a private school, and we just have much more autonomy to make these types of purchasing decisions. And I've also found that charter schools really seem to be more open to new technology, as private schools are kind of like, well, let's wait and see how this goes. So
Interesting. So, I think the model makes sense. I've actually worked with a number of startups in the edtech space. I think your go-to-market strategy is the right strategy because that is definitely the low-hanging fruit from that perspective to build some traction. How do you measure have you got mechanisms in place to measure? So you've got deployed at a charter school now, the productivity gains, because I think that will be key to kind of what your messaging is and how you get that initial seed into other environments. So how do you measure that? And is that part of the plan? Like, how do you intend to expand beyond that, like with that message?
yeah, absolutely, because we're going to have to prove that we are going to be able to increase productivity, that you're going to basically free up more time to better support students. So that's going to be one of the key things that we're going to have to really uncover. So right now, the plan for that is with these charter schools, we're putting out surveys. Hey, before FolioBridge, how did this work? And after FolioBridge, have you seen a difference in your productivity? Has that increased? Have you freed up more time? Are you able to find all these different resources that are available to you? That's really how we intend to do that at the moment.
Be a suggestion.
I would love that.
As a part of the sales process, when you're doing that, you should have an onboarding checklist that you do that takes those metrics in when you're onboarding that client. And then once they've had that product deployed for, say, 90 days or 6 months, you do a checkup just to see. And I would tell them up front that I'm doing this, and I will come back to you and ask you some questions again so that we can help validate this so that you, as the administrator, can justify your purchase.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I think the edtech space has been interesting to track as it kind of is changing with all this new technology. And I'm curious, just as a somebody in VC, obviously venture capital firms, when you are trying to get funding, we're looking for accelerated growth. We're looking for consistent growth and consistent revenues as well. And I know that with edtech platforms, there's a bit of a buying season in the summer, obviously. So how do you combat that? And what do you do differently here to just create those recurring revenues?
Yeah, because you're right, because there's no good time to talk to a school leader, right? At the beginning of the school year, it's the beginning. It's the end of the school year, it's testing season. So I just think really it's just forming those relationships with these people, knowing that, all right, summer is going to be the main buying season, but that doesn't mean they can't purchase our platform in the school year. Perhaps, hey, we don't go, full in if they purchase in February, but hey, let's kind of ease into it. And then over summer, we can train. And I think it's really the thing that's going to really set us apart. Microsoft Office is great. I mean, it's wonderful. Nobody's going to replace that, but who's there to help train teachers on how to use Teams and SharePoint and so forth? So I think that's really one of our key indicators, is that we're going to be able to help train these teachers and to use it over the course of the summer.
Gotcha. Appreciate that. And then do you have experience selling into school districts? Because I know you're going a little bit more to the private schools, but it's a lot easier to get a bunch of schools in one district, right? At one
Yeah,
time, so.
1,000%. I do not have experience selling to large school districts, but I do have the experience of being an educator and a former administrator.
Gotcha. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Nate. Next up, I'd like to bring up Michelle Smalls with Lavender Leaf.
Okay. So let me start off before I even get into this slide. I just want to mention one thing. Millions are spent every year in EdTech, and I'm in EdTech, on remediation for lagging reading skills. But the testing methods that are used to identify these particular literacies is really basically on subjective evaluations performed by counselors and educators. So let me start with the problem. So the problem is in our pre-K to 3, the literacy portion, there's struggles. The children, and being a parent, goes through phonics and decoding issues, vocabulary and frequency, and mispronunciation and repetition, speed and reading, exhaustion and fatigue. Why is this important? Why is it impacting children at this particular stage? There's continuing reading gaps, and I'm going to go into it in a minute. There's increased student frustration and fatigue. We've got strain on educators and reading specialists because the ratios are still very high for both. Then we've got limited capacity for early intervention. Again, this gap that continues to happen, it just widens for children, for students that are striving to be better readers and to get through their content. Now, I just want you to take a look at that 50 million number. That's 50 million students that are currently going into the schools, into the school systems. 30 million, that's that K3 number, they're at risk. You don't know it, but they're at risk. That 35 million, that's from K to 12. But let me focus on the 4 to 12. That 4 to 12, those students are experiencing reading difficulties that they can track back to K to 3. So there's a whole lot of students that are being missed. And so Lavender Leaf is really, we're really moving into the space where ours is a unique one. It's detecting and tracking. It's an audio-based LLM that provides unbiased evaluation framework specifically from pre-K to K to 3. We're focusing on granular skills and deficiency assessments, and it's really specifically targeting vocabulary development and comprehension progression. Our platform will adapt to the reader's age and proficiency level, ensuring that they get personalized, accurate intervention based upon students' learning needs. The benefits, it's going to help educators. Personalized assessment is going to help the student. We're going to remove tester bias, and it's going to be based on data-driven remediation planning. And I will pause there because I'm a little nervous, so excuse me. But I just want to leave this message. I'm a parent of 3, and I had to struggle with them. And no one could identify to me at the early stages what the problems were. I had to figure it out at the dinner table when I was cooking. And so I had to have them retrained on everything. And so this tool gets them at that age, because the issue was, if I could have gotten the help that I needed at that early age, it would have made a world of a difference, because they struggled all the way into the 12th grade and beyond. And I have a son who has autism, and I was able to overcome a lot of these challenges because I was that involved parent. But if I didn't advocate for my child, it would have never happened. So I'll pause there.
Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, I appreciate the story as well as the presentation. I thought it was a great job. I'm curious a little bit on the AI that you're using. How have you trained those models, and exactly what are you using there?
Okay, so grassroots, because it's just starting, and because I had a whole plan out. So I actually really just took it something simple. I recorded a couple of students, friends of mine and my son, and I was able to get the data just by recording them and running it through AI. And I was able to identify those particular areas in phonics and decoding and the mispronunciation. It's like one misword, to be honest with you, is what I was looking for. Because once I figured that out, I figured out they weren't able to move forward. They couldn't pronounce it. They didn't understand it. The reading gets blocked. They slow down. They stumble. And so it just wasn't going anywhere. So what I was able to discover is that just by listening to them read, I was able to put it through the AI that I have on a grassroots level. And that's how I was able to discover. And then I was able to personalize it for that each student that I had do it, that it was like, okay, this is what they need to do. Start here, based upon them, not a general, but based upon that. And that is how I was able to say, oh, wow, this is going to be impactful, because there's nothing on the market that's detecting and tracking the vocabulary like Lavender Leaf.
And so after you detect and track the pronunciation or the words that they're using, how do you then go to further educate them? Is that on the teachers, or is that also done through your
Well, it
platform?
helps the teacher. So what it does is after that process happens, it identifies for them personally where they need to start to focus in on what words, how to incorporate it back into the reading, how does it apply to those lessons. So once that information gets to the educator or to the reading specialist or to the behavioral, whomever is going to be working with that particular student, now they've got something to go off of. Now the student can start to track it. And then it really tracks over anywhere between an 8 to 10 week period. But now we can see if there's any kind of progression. And then that's where you start to see the impact. But I just want to make mention on this one is that most children, you're not sure if they have a reading problem. You don't know. It's only the ones that kind of stand out a little bit. So what the whole plan is that let's try to get as many of the children to do it just to see where you are. Because what's happening is it's growing with you. It's tracking you. And so where you start to deviate, it helps you. Hey, we're starting to see something because I'm learning with you. I start to correct. But that's really what it is.
So, a couple other questions. So, are you, because I'm thinking about how this works downstream to be able to help them. I think it's a brilliant idea, that you've put together. How would you, so two things. How would you incorporate this with testing comprehension, right? Because they're reading, right? So we're looking at speech and these kind of things, right? But that sometimes doesn't equate to comprehension. And then second, is it testing for markers too by like who's an auditory learner, an oratory learner, things like that? So thinking about kind of where that goes long term.
Absolutely. So let me answer the first question. So the phonics, the decoding, all of this, the fluency, the mispronunciation, all of this goes into reading comprehension. So what it's doing is it's creating markers to say, okay, here's what's happening at this level. We're reading at a slower speed. Are we in line with what the level that you should be reading at your grade level? You're a little slower. Okay, your mispronunciation. So it's getting all this data to say that there's going to be a potential problem because it could be dyslexia, right? It could be decoding issues, which my son had. We couldn't figure it out, but I figured it out. He had a decoding issue. And then this is the other things with speech, autism. He was words and he couldn't figure it out. So he'd guess, right? So it measures all of that. So this is how it says that you may have a reading comprehension issue. You may have an issue with understanding and being able to manipulate language, because that's where the decoding issue is. I don't understand the language, and I don't even know how to manipulate the language. So that's the other thing. The other question was
Auditory or
okay. So all right. So it starts to detect. Okay, is there an issue with the wording? Are you speaking clearly? Are you having issues with maybe hearing or seeing the words properly? So it's gathering so much information just by that reading. It doesn't mean that they have these problems. It just means that there could be a start of a problem. And that's where we make the difference.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you tell us a little bit about the team that you're working with on this?
So the team that I have working with me, they're out of India, so it's offshore. So what they help me to do is to kind of build out the blueprint, the kind of framework. What Ken was able to do is help me narrow it down, right? So I can go after their big market, right, and do all these things. But what it really does in the beginning is it tests, it tracks and detects, and that is the key function. Eventually, I'll be able to move out into a whole different realm. But if I'm tracking and detecting and no one else is doing that, that's where the edge comes in.
Second question is a bit more conceptual, but one of the biggest challenges with EdTech tools is getting them into the hands of the students that need them most, and particularly in the areas where students need them the most. So what's your plan or approach going to be to building a brand that allows people to hear about Lavender Leaf, download the application, and test it out without being prompted by an educator?
Well, the whole thing is, the target is I'm going after like private schools and charter schools, because of course that's the way to get in. But really what I want to do is use my use cases, right? So that's going to tell the story. If I can tell you that maybe you didn't think a student had a problem, and hey, we're showing you that there could be some things, and then we can track it over a week's period. Now I have impact. Now I have word of mouth. This works. And then in the number of students that I'm able to get to do it, and the schools that allow me to do it, to get in and start to show the impact of our tool, that's what will get out. The word of mouth, how you brand it, this works. We track the tech, we make differences at the grassroots level, and that's where it has to happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. All right. Next up, we have Scott Goldman from Receivable.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Goldman, CEO of Receivable. Over the past decade, I've partnered with more than 150 capital providers and helped thousands of small businesses access over $100 million in revenue-based financing. The revenue-based funding industry provides fast and flexible working capital to small businesses when they need it most. Over $30 billion is funded annually in the US. But once that money goes out, it's stuck. The funders can't redeploy it fast enough. And when this happens, approvals stall. Ooh, that's me. Sorry. When this happens, approvals stall, good deals are missed, and relationships with originators break down. Billions of dollars flow through informal syndication networks, but they rely very heavily on email, spreadsheets, and even WhatsApp chats. There's no standardization, there's no automation, and there's no infrastructure to scale. That's the gap Receivable is solving. Receivable enables funders to unlock liquidity from deals they've already funded. With our platform, they can syndicate active positions in real time, turning illiquid paper into cash and immediately redeploying that capital. This accelerates deal flow, reduces reliance on external credit lines, and gives funders more control. With the infrastructure in place and capital partners lined up, Receivables on track to launch live transactions this August and bring our first institutional product to market by year-end. Based on current partnerships, we're projecting $33 million in first-year revenue, and that's across structuring and servicing fees and residual participation. We're actively filling a $1 million pre-issuance round, and that's the final step needed to execute our go-to-market. Thank you all for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Scott. Questions from the panel?
Yeah. So help simplify maybe for me a little bit. Who's your customer? What's their job? What do they do?
Sure. Our customers are revenue-based funders. So there are 33 million small businesses in the United States. 80% of them cannot walk into a bank and get a loan. So the revenue-based financing industry is really what keeps Main Street America afloat. They're providing working capital and liquidity to small business. Oh, look at that. The mic work. They provide working capital and liquidity to small businesses. So our customer is the funding institution. These are private, mostly private, non-bank institutions made up of, hedge funds, family offices, high net worth individuals that have pooled capital together in some sort of fund structure. And this is their business. They fund small businesses. And so there are around 500 of these funders in the United States that are funding small businesses, large and small. Some of them are doing a few $1 million a month in volume. Some of them are doing 50, 60, $80 million a month in volume. So it's a very tight knit industry, and it's the industry that I've worked in for the last 10 years. So that's our main customer. Our other customer is the investors that we're creating these structured credit products for, right? So we're basically building a secondary marketplace that's going to connect institutional capital with revenue-based funders.
And would you be securitizing these as a single bond?
Yeah, that's our plan. So we're launching what we call a revenue-backed security, and that's how we're going to bring it to market.
Okay, got it. So obviously to that, because Andres' following question was my question, so that's good. Any compliance issues with that, particularly as some of the rules the SEC has are changing right now?
Yeah, so it's there's a lot of stuff that we've had to learn over the last several months. Not so much regulatory compliance outside of like who we can sell these, these products to. But we have very expensive lawyers that are doing all of this work for us and guiding us in the right direction. And, fortunately, we're not embarking on something that hasn't been done before, right? So revenue-based financing has been securitized, and we're working with the firms and the teams that have done this for other lenders.
Curious a little bit on how you're kind of building this marketplace a little bit. Obviously, you have two sides, two different kind of, businesses and individuals that you need to get onto the platform. How do you market to both of them at the same time, and how do you get them both excited when, you're building both at the same time?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we're building an online platform that allows funders to connect their books, their systems of record to our system and use our proprietary scoring algorithm. The way that we're going to market is, I have the CEOs of every single funding company in my cell phone. I've been in the industry for the last 10 years. We all go to the same events. We all go to the same mixers. So it's been very, we're fortunate. It's been very easy for us to get the customers. Funders need capital. They're willing to explore, any solution that will get them the capital that they need. In terms of where the capital is coming from, so we are in advanced discussions with several warehouse lenders that are going to give us a line so that we can warehouse this paper as a bridge while we package it and securitize it. And then we're just going to sell the notes to Wall Street and Quibs and, other qualified investors.
What percentage are you taking?
So we make between 5 to 10% of every dollar that flows through our platform.
Gotcha. And do you have any kind of underwriting risk here?
Well, yeah, we're buying the paper, and we have to allocate for defaults. We have to have reserves. We have to allocate. We have to over collateralize our line. So defaults are a risk, just like with any lending. But we have a really good model, and we've back tested it on thousands and thousands of transactions, and I think we'll be okay. But yes, we do have underwriting risk. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Scott. Okay, next up we have Jeff Malik with Seminode.
Morning. All right, so for years, equipment manufacturers and vendors have been quoting and exchanging part availability over email and Excel files. In the US alone, over $60 billion of material is transacted through these outdated methods. This process is fragmented and messy. Hours are wasted structuring RFQs and quotes, hunting for pricing opportunities, and chasing down updates across spreadsheets and emails. Seminode is an asset, and these disconnected workflows obscure visibility and delay decisions. Manual procurement processes eat up 30 to 50% more time than structured tools, costing the industry over $800 million in time alone across 12,000 electronics firms. Seminode is an asset and information sharing network designed for supply chains, with an initial focus on the electronics industry. We entered this space seeing the inefficiency firsthand within the electronics supply chain. Our infrastructure empowers companies to connect with their trusted partners and control how they share their data. Structured and accessible information improves negotiation workflows, surfaces better quoting opportunities, and grants instant visibility into partner interactions. This reduces friction, speeds up requisition cycles, and improves price discovery, ultimately lowering costs, reducing procurement risk, and making the supply chain more responsive. We are currently based on a subscription model, but we anticipate to introduce a take rate as network participation grows. Our core architecture has been shaped by procurement professionals, and we anticipate to close our first licensing agreement by Q3 of 2025.
Thank you, Jack. Questions?
Curious a little bit on your background. How did you get interested in something like this? Were you working in, supply chain? Tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah, so my co-founder, Ryan Malink, he works in the electronics industry. I'm the CTO of the company. I graduated from Ohio State with a background in computer science, so I've been developing most of the logic.
Gotcha. Cool. Go Buckeyes.
OH.
So that was going to be my question as well, because I don't think when I was in before I heard kind of like what your guys' backgrounds were. You talked about the take rate and the subscription model. Can you give me a little bit more about this? I think it's very interesting what you're doing, because I don't know of anyone else who's doing this. And there's a need for it. I do know that from the work we do with some of the supply chain guys. But tell me a little bit more about how that model works. How are you making money? What percentage are you taking? Kind of what do you expect that to look like?
So a subscription model, we are going to do a tiered process based on usage. A take rate would be introduced later based on the volume of transactions that you complete. And we hope to keep the subscription nominal for the time being to make the barrier to entry low for companies to enter into the network. And then the volume will account for how much they pay.
So one of the big challenges in this space is the unstructured nature of the data in all these various data silos, and kind of, it's very, very challenging to put together, even like follow a single part being delivered to a single customer. So what is your guys' approach for pre-structuring data before you put it into your model or your solution to start to solve this problem?
So for our entry point, we have a cleaning tool for BOM files. So companies can upload BOM files, and it'll clean and structure the data, and then they can share that with their trusted partners.
How much services work do you think you'll have to do when you're first deploying to a customer to get, like even paper PDFs scanned through OCR and get them into the right format for you guys to use?
We hope to keep service work as minimal as possible and only use it for our first couple of customers. We want to fully automate and enable companies to develop their own tools using an SDK and API integrations. Other than that, we want to keep service work to a minimum. Gotcha.
To that point, so if you want to do that, one of the things you're going to need to look at is finding some service partners who'll do that work, because the companies you're talking to do not have the talent to do that.
Okay.
And you can form that. There's plenty of service providers out there that'd be happy to take that, but you need to get 2 or 3 of those people that are willing to do that work. So you can say, hey, we don't do that, but here's a third party that will take care of that for you.
It's good. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Thanks, Jack. All right. Next up is Nicholas Hildebrandt from Smoke.
Good morning. Good morning. Shout out to my 4-month-old daughter for being here. Where's she at? Probably sleeping through this whole thing. So I have spent my co-founder and I spent the last 12 years doing professional design work for clients, ranging from doing a digital art collection for Post Malone to trailers for video games, to branding for blockchain startups. And if one thing has become abundantly clear through this work, it's that artists hate to talk to their clients. Yeah, it's a struggle. It's like pulling teeth for them. It usually leads to undervaluing themselves, missing deadlines, and missing out on the coveted referrals. Meanwhile, agencies like mine profit off of this pain point by simply translating design speak to business speak and mastering the art of managing expectations. Who's got that? Who's got that? Turn up. No, I'm kidding. So today we are disrupting this $500 billion market by replacing the middleman with an AI agent that handles all the back office admin work, everything from proposals to testimonials, ultimately saving artists 10 to 15 hours per week and producing happier clients. We are going to market targeting freelance animators as a niche that we understand very, very well. And I spent a lot of time during this accelerator interviewing animators from our agency, mapping their pain points, and developing our MVP to speak directly to these. We're currently testing a prototype I'm building out to solve our own pain with this, and then we're planning to ship an MVP in the next 3 to 4 months. Our mission is simple. It's to help 1 million designers earn more and stress less. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, appreciate the presentation. I'm curious a little bit on what else is out there right now. Are these, artists, do they typically use a platform similar to this? And are you replacing some of those?
Yeah. Apple Notes and a whiteboard, typically, because every CRM platform out there is just not artist friendly. The psychographic of artists is very particular. I think a lot of them are starting to look at ChatGPT to kind of help with like how they word their offering to their clients and things like that. But really, there is no solution out there, and it hasn't really been. We haven't been capable to solve this problem before this, in my eyes, because a lot of the user experience with artists happens in natural language. Yeah.
And just curious, why Smoke and why the 3 as well?
Yeah. So Smoke is actually our agency. It's a content marketing agency. We work with a lot of Web3 brands. This product will be called Just Create. It's a separate thing. Yeah.
So just tell me a little bit with the process itself, because typically if I'm going to an agency or I'm working with an artist, there's going to be, a scope of work that's done, right? We're going to have a design consultation, and I'm going to tell you what's in my head, and you're going to ask me a lot of questions, and then you're going to formulate things to be able to create concepts, right? That's just how the process works.
Yeah.
Where in the platform does that part occur? Because that's your basic input that I'm assuming is going to lead to that lead qualification and the scope of the proposals and all that other derivatives that come out of it. So just explain that to me a little bit.
Yeah. For the client experience, it all happens in email. We might support social media DMs as well, but right now we're aggregating everything into email. Typically the artists are trying to minimize the amount of calls they get on already. And there's a massive trend happening in the design world of productizing their services. So trying to minimize time spending on calls and really moving towards a subscription model as well. So we really kind of bring that vision to the fold and fully realize it for artists.
Back on that too. So that's reason for me.
There is for sure.
Because it is very depersonalized. And if I wanted to hire 99 designs, I would just hire them.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely pushback, and I think that one of the biggest problems we have to solve with this is, can we properly scope out work and make it feel very personalized, which is also one of the reasons our approach is to solve it for ourselves. I have to prove it out first, right? I think for activation rate with designers, like actually getting them to upload the things necessary in our tool for it to do its job properly, and then on the client side, making it feel natural and speaking directly to their needs as a client is going to be super important for sure.
Okay.
Is your ideal customer a small agency or a freelancer?
We're targeting freelancers. Yeah.
Which of the workflows that you have in that agency do you think the vast majority of freelance designers or animators or artists struggle with the most?
Yeah, right now our MVP is targeting from lead, like the first contact, to closing the deal, because this is where most of the time is lost. So many artists spend a few hours per client in messaging back and forth, trying to understand what the scope of the work is, what do they want, only to lose it, right? Because honestly, one of the biggest issues is they don't know how to speak, they don't know how to relate qualitative work to quantitative results to a business, right? So this is where we're hyper focused. A lot of time is spent on proposals, scoping, pricing, and pricing is a huge pain point too. Every call I had, every single artist is like, can you price for me? I don't know. How do I price my work? Either they underprice it and they're like, their time management sucks because they feel like they're not getting paid for their work, or they overprice, they lose clients. Yeah.
So then how does your guys' platform solve that pricing problem?
Yeah. So, first of all, as an agency and with our network of agencies and artists, we have access to like thousands of real proposals and invoices and things, and that we can equate. Okay, these are the proposals that won. These are the ones that lost. Here's the pricing. Here's the average kind of ask for different agencies and different freelancers. So we're already building out that database to be able to suggest like proper pricing for people. And then on the proposal side, same exact thing. Like, what are the types of value propositions that clients like to see from artists, and how is the wording, created in a way that speaks to their needs? Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, our last presentation of the morning is Justin Valentine with Valent.
All right, we get to end the day with the exciting world of government contracting. So I'm with Valent and with my partner, Jesse Hool, who couldn't be here. We're solving the problem of government contractor sales and efficiency. Every year, approximately 675,000 contractors compete for over $773 billion in federal sales. Yet only about 18% or 120,000 actually win a contract. Small businesses rarely win a contract because they don't actually understand what it takes to win. They don't understand the agencies. They don't understand the assessment criteria. They don't understand the incumbents. They don't understand who to partner with in order to win. So they spend thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours a year putting together proposals that ultimately fail, and proposals that they probably shouldn't have been working on in the first place. Existing software platforms provide an infinite amount of bid opportunities, very few which are qualified. We started this business because I feel this pain day in and day out. We've probably won about $20 million in federal contracts over the past decade, as well as we've lost, what, 1 to 200 million. So we've participated in a lot of failed bids. So we wanted to use that collective intelligence to build a platform that provides bid, market, and probability of win intelligence so that small businesses can spend less time and less resources and win more. So our platform provides opportunity identification based on commonly understood assessment criteria, agency incumbent dashboards, partnering recommendations, pricing suggestions based on real pricing data, and probability of win analysis. We're very early stages. In 2025. We're developing the prototype. We've been working on capturing the federal contracting data, as well as 60,000 vendor rate cards to be able to produce the pricing information. We plan to roll out sometime in 2026 to some early adopters with an eye to expansion in 2027. So at the end of the day, what our platform really does is help small businesses focus on winnable opportunities and cancel out all the noise of the unwinnable opportunities. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Is there any initial scope to specific departments, specific contract types, things like that you'll focus on, or is it going to be completely broad-based across all forms of procurement?
It'll be broad-based across all forms of procurement, focused more on contracting versus like the grants.gov stuff, at least because we've pulled all the data from sam.gov in the federal procurement database, FPDS data.
Okay. So follow-up question to that would be, for the vast majority of procurement and contracting, there's probably clearly understood metrics that help you win or lose that contract. But let's say that last 10%, and usually some of the larger and more impactful contracts, there's a lot of human buy-in and a lot of, non-quantitatable, non-tangible assets that go into making that decision. So how do you account for those in the win rate? Let's say particularly in defense, homeland security type contracts where it's not so easy to understand the requirements.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is about, the past performance. Have you performed in that agency before? Do you have capabilities that match kind of the keywords that are in the solicitation itself? And I think to your point, there is a lot of kind of human elements. So we're also kind of looking recently into can we recommend conferences and associations to join in conferences to go do this kind of contracts or discuss to kind of get that insider track and so solicitation. But what the data does show is that for a lot of these small business, we'll be telling you no a lot, don't pursue because you simply aren't positioned to win.
So are you initially focusing based on kind of what you said so far, AA? Because you're talking about the small guys, the ones that, and typically AAs are the ones that have a high chance of winning, but don't win.
So Jesse, my partner, his firm actually is an 8A ISB. But we're going to focus on small businesses generally. 8A would be a subset of that.
Okay. And then tell me a little bit more about the model, like the pricing model. And I think that one of the things that's interesting, I'll just say, I think one of the things that's interesting is the incumbents, because if you're doing some ranking based on that for people in their, I think that's quite helpful from a contracting perspective. But let me understand the pricing model.
Yeah, we looked at kind of the other solutions that are out there, and kind of at this point, we're just thinking we're kind of price about the same, which could be as low as about $50 a month and as high as $200 a month. And then we thought maybe we could customize reports or consulting services. We were trying to have upsell that.
Like environment, that's what kind of people.
Well, that's great. Great here.
One thing that I always try to determine is if a product is a nice to have or a must have product. And usually that turns into kind of an ROI line discussion. I'm curious, how do you develop quick wins for some of these companies if some of these contracts do take a little bit of time and they first are onboarding with you?
No, that's a great point. I mean, the sales cycle, federal sales cycle is quite long, from market research to RFIs to eventually RFPs. I think our pitch to them is very much that they are already spending a lot of time and money chasing these contracts and they simply aren't winning, and that they're kind of like freeing up their time and resources to go to it. It could be running their business, it could be marketing, sales, any other things that they're doing. But just wasting a ton of time. So it's really because it is a lot harder to kind of guarantee them that win because they are so ill positioned, especially as a small business, to win those contracts.
Gotcha. Now, I'm curious if you have two contractors who are maybe going after a similar bid, how do you kind of deal with that, and how do you make sure that you're not choosing between the two potential candidates?
I mean, the partnering recommendation module could recommend each other. I hadn't really kind of a candidate for that. And technically, it's agnostic, so if anyone that bids anyone would register, if the bid was if they were capable for the bid, that would be recommended for that.
All right, thank you, Jeff.